I would like to welcome everyone once more. So today's topic is building our own fully local RAG using Laravel, Ollama, Postgres, and React. So let's get started. So first of all, a bit of a background from mine. So my name is Bijay. I come from Nepal. So I'm currently working in Mercari Inc. as a software engineer for the past 3 years. I hope many of us use Mercari. It's a very great platform. So yeah, so regarding me, I started working with PHP back in 2011 during my college days, and then I started working as a Laravel developer from 2015, and then for the past 3 years, I am working with Golang and PHP. So these are the different photos of me giving presentation about Laravel back in my hometown, where we used to organize this kind of events. So let's move to our agenda. So uh, So today's agenda will begin with what is AI, why do we need AI. So the different terminologies that is famous these days, like LLM, RAG, different use cases, and we'll be introducing to Ollama, and then we'll slowly create a local RAG with Laravel, and finally we'll do a live demo. So it's 2025 and we know that AI is everywhere. So wherever we go, we see AI. So this is a image that I found in the internet. So in India, you can see that the tea, there is a small vending stall, and you can see even the tea that is powered by GPT. So you can say Chai GPT. Chai means tea, and it's Chai GPT, and it runs on AI. So about AI, the hype is real. So even to sell a pen, you will have to announce that this is AI powered. Only then the next person is going to buy it. So why AI? So I think all of us know AI is transforming the industries. So it is helping a lot in the automation, personalization, and the decision making. So as a developers as well, we can leverage AI to build very many smarter apps. So recently there is a hype in the internet about the vibe coding. So that also relates with AI, and AI has been helping a lot to generate the smart apps. So but the problem is that even though there is a lot of hype, the hype often comes with some sort of complexity and dependency on the third-party APIs. And the third-party APIs or the third-party AIs, they are not in our hand. Maybe it is very expensive to get in touch. So there are many problems that they have. So that we'll be dealing with those kind of things today. So let's move on to some of the terminologies. So first terminologies that we want to cover is LLM, basically the large language models. So they are like AI models which are trained on the massive text data, maybe book, website, or anything. So they can predict and generate human-like text, for example, ChatGPT, Llama, etc. So the use cases, so they can be used in the chatbots, maybe content generation, code assistants, like we are using with different tools these days, and then they are very helpful. But the challenge is that they often need some sort of tuning or external data to be contextually accurate, because like they are fed on some certain data, and that data needs to be regularly updated. So that is a kind of a challenge. So we can simply think of challenge as some sort of super smart autocomplete tools, but basically for the conversation or tasks. So LLMs, they are really great, but the problem is that they don't know everything. So in case if I or we want to use it for our particular scenario, then we need to help them. That's where RAG comes in. So uh, RAG, what is RAG? So the full form of the RAG is Retrieval-Augmented Generation. So as I mentioned previously, the standard AI models, they have a fixed knowledge base, and then RAG allows the AI to fetch some relevant real-time data before generating the responses. So let me give you an example. Let's say you are using different AI related services in your company, but specifically you want to use it for your particular project. The project is very big, it has been running for like 10 years now, so the documentation is really huge, and you want to onboard something, and you recently joined the team. Then there is a big problem that if you have to find some answers to some certain questions, it is going to be very time consuming. So in that case, we could basically take some help from AI. So that's where RAG comes in. So we using RAG, we can make AI more accurate, context aware, and domain specific. So RAG is basically like we give some sort of cheat sheet to the LLM so that it looks into the relevant information before answering. So this will definitely make our life pretty easier. So the RAG overflow. So the first thing, so we'll cover these topics and we'll see the examples, but let's go to the basic workflow. So what do the RAG do? They will generate some sort of embeddings. They store the embeddings in the database, and then the user can query any question they want, and then we need to first embed the query, and then based upon that we retrieve the documents, and then basically from that the LLMs can generate the answer. This is the very basic workflow that we can see, and today we will be trying all of these basic workflow using pure Laravel. So what are the real use case scenarios of the RAG? Where can I use it? So as I explained previously, one of the very basic use case can be project documentation chatbot. As I said, if the application or your project is extremely huge and you have hundreds and hundreds of developers working in your company, in that case the knowledge base is definitely going to be high, and if we can make sure that we have some sort of RAG which can feed into the documentation, which constantly gets updated each and every day and fetches the relevant answer as per our need, that will definitely help. So one of the use case can be project documentation chatbot, maybe code style and reviews, and next thing can be customer support automation. So yeah, these are the very basic things that we can use RAG. So currently there are different AI models that we can work that we can tool and generate or create some sort of RAGs. So for example, we have OpenAI, Cloud, Mistral, Gemini, and so much. And there are also so many open source options. So we'll be exploring some of them. So the real question is, why should we go self-hosted or on the local AI instead of using third-party AIs? Like we already have ChatGPT or OpenAI. We have other services from other service providers like even Twitter's or X AI and so on. So one of the very basic reason is control. So if we are using our own self-hosted LLM, which is open source, it provides some sort of control to us. We are no more dependent on the external services. So that is a good thing for us. So the next thing, one of the major reasons that the company like have is that they don't want the data to be exposed. And if we are sending all of the, like as we explained that we want to create a RAG, but we are thinking of sending all of our very private project related information to third party APIs, that's not a good thing. That basically hammers our privacy. So with cloud, with like a self-hosted one, we don't have to think about this kind of problems. And the next one is cost. Definitely, like using third party APIs is expensive thing, and if you want to use it for the like very intense scenarios, it is going to be very expensive. So local RAGs or the self-hosted LLMs or local AI can definitely help in saving the cost. And the next thing, we can basically or easily customize the models as per our need. And even if we just make sure that we need it for our offline access, we can do that because it works great without internet, and it is also very great for the remote environments. So with local AI, we are in the driver's seat, no black box checks, no hidden costs. We have this complete control. Yes, the problem is that it requires some setup, but the benefits are worth. So it is very helpful for the developers. So now let's gradually craft our own local RAG. So the tech stack. So Laravel, our beloved framework, like it is very great, and we'll be using PHP, of course, and we'll be using Ollama, which basically runs the LLM locally for different generation purposes. So the next thing is Postgres. It is a database where we can store our data. We need this specifically for the purpose of not only storing the basic data, also for the vector embeddings. So the next thing, final thing, since we are creating a very simple kind of a chatbot, we will be using React along with Inertia. So let's move on to this topic. I think you might have seen this llama somewhere around in your either in Facebook or some of the social networking platforms. So Ollama. So this Ollama thing, it is a local tool to run LLMs locally on your machine. And then it supports lots of open source models like Llama, Mistral, and so much, and lots of other models, even like the DeepSeek, all of the DeepSeek R1 and other models, you can run it locally. So it is very easy to set up. It just has a basic 3 or 4 steps, and it is very lightweight. It is completely open source, and then it's very easier. So even if you don't have internet, it's not a big deal. It is 100% local. So once you download it from the internet, it's no problem. But if you don't have internet, then that's definitely a big problem. So only with a few commands you can have a locally running LLM. So how does this work? Ollama basically exposes some of REST APIs, some of the endpoints with the REST APIs, which makes easier for our application to interact with all of the models. So that is one of the great service that Ollama has provided. We can basically send a request to generate text. Either we can generate embeddings or manage the models. So let's get started. So the first thing, to run Ollama, we can simply download it from its official website, and then either you can choose it some of the dependency managers like Brew, or you can directly download it from their website. And the next thing, after you download Ollama, you can make sure that Ollama is running by simply typing Ollama on the terminal. And then, as we explained, we need to pull some sort of LLMs, because Ollama is just a tool which runs the different LLMs. So we can basically pull some of the LLMs. For example, we are pulling Llama 3.2, and then what we can do, we can run it locally on the terminal. So we can do Ollama run Llama 3.2, and we can pass any sort of questions or whatever prompt that you want. For example, I have requested Llama to write one poem about Laravel in just 2 lines, and it wrote a very beautiful poem. So you can see that the power that we saw like 1 or 1.5 years back with OpenAI and ChatGPT, we can have that kind of thing completely running on our machine without any problem, without having to worry to pay for third-party companies like OpenAI. And as I mentioned, in this fourth image, you can see that Ollama, it basically it exposes some REST endpoints, which makes the interaction pretty easier. So in this case, we are generating some sort of query. For example, we are asking the same thing to generate a poem about Laravel in just 2 lines, and it does it. So basically, whatever we could get with OpenAI and ChatGPT, we can get it with Ollama. So Ollama has like lots of endpoints, couple of endpoints, but these are the main endpoints that we will be dealing with today. So the first one is post API/generate. It basically generates a text based on a provided prompt based upon what sort of LLM model that you are choosing, and what the prompt you are passing. And the next thing is there is the endpoint is API/embeddings. So this endpoint basically converts the text into the vector embeddings. So I have been mentioning this terminology embeddings like couple of times now. So let's see what this embeddings is. So let's see what they are and why they are essential. So the embedding in the like world of AI, or basically in this RAG, is basically it is a very simple process of converting the text into the numerical vectors to measure the similarity. So we have a text, for example, cat. So we need to make sure that the like the LLMs can understand it, so that we can like convert it. So the process is known as embedding. So the text is converted into the numerical vectors, which is known as embeddings. So the embeddings turns the words into numbers that the system can understand, and they can compare them. So the basic flowchart of this would be: there is a text, we will perform some sort of embedding, and then we can search the knowledge base, and the LLM can generate a response. So for example, there is a text, PHP is great, and the output would be something like some sort of array. So the next thing, since we decided to go local, we need some sort of data storage provider. We need to store the data somewhere. We already have like different databases like MySQL or Postgres, which can store the information related to our project or our like project. So one of the challenges that we have, we also need to make sure that we can store the embedding. Whatever the text or the data we have, we need to make sure that it is properly embed and that is stored in our database. That gives the more control to us. So we have different options like ChromaDB. We also have Redis, and we have many other like paid services which are really expensive that we could choose from. But like we have decided to choose Postgres. So one of the reason why we choose Postgres is that we already have been using this, and since we are already using this with our existing application, it works very great with Laravel. And next thing, it also has, it recently like introduced support for the vector embeddings, which is known as PG vector. So the step is very simple. So with this setup, we one of the major benefit that we get is that we should not be worrying about relying on some another database or maintaining double database, because the single database, the Postgres, it can do both of the things for us. So it is one of the great win for all of the developers. So installation is very simple. If we have Postgres, we can simply install it, and the next thing that we need to do is enable the PG vector extension, which is very simple as create extension vector. So that's so the high level architecture of our application, or the very basic rack that we are going to see today. So the first thing is preparation of the data set. So for example, we have some documentation of our project. So it can be either MD file, Markdown file, or maybe text file. You just prepare the data set. That's all. That's the very first thing. So it can be anything. You can think of this as array, or it can be text, or anything. So the first step is to prepare the data. And the next thing, we need to generate the embeddings calling the Ollama's API, because Ollama's API, it exposes one REST endpoint which can transform our data into embedding, and finally we can store this in Postgres. So this is the first part of the high level architecture. So in the tutorials in the internet, you can find that many of the people will teach you that in the for the overall flow of the rack, they will teach you that there is a document, they will basically scan it, and then on the very time they will like query and they will return back the data. But that is not a good use case on like when you are creating some sort of rack, because looking into the data, searching every time, that's not a good idea. Instead, we could like basically create some sort of database, store the data over there, and then we can fetch the data from there. So that is the very basic thing that we can do. So the next thing, after preparation of the data, so this is the second part of the architecture. This is the where the UI comes in. So we have a UI. The user can ask a question simply by asking anything related to that documentation, and then our application will generate embedding for that particular query. Because as we mentioned, embedding and all, so our vector DB, that needs to basically perform some sort of similarity search based upon what query that we have and what data we have. So for that purpose, we need to generate the embedding for our query as well. Otherwise, it is going to be difficult or impossible to search for the similarity. So the third step would be searching the database. We are using Postgres for that. We'll be using vector similarity to find the relevant content. And then in the second last step, we'll send the whole context and also the question to Ollama and ask Ollama to basically answer based upon the provided prompt. And finally, the AI or our Ollama will return back the answer. So that is how we can return back the answer to our user. So let's move on to the demo part. Okay. So this is my very basic Laravel application. So before that, so if you are interested, so I have one repository which is a rag with Laravel and Ollama. So it has all of the steps provided and all of the like prerequisites that it requires and how it can be installed. You can see. So I have followed the steps, like I cloned the repository, I copied the env file, I have already installed the PHP dependencies using composer install, already generate the my application key, and for this particular purpose we will be relying on the Docker. And then I need to make sure that Postgres with the vector is enabled, and then I can run the migration so that I can like basically sheet all of the data, and then finally like run other steps. So let's look into this step by step. So the first step would be like looking into the Docker compose file. So this is the basic, very basic Docker file that I have generated using Laravel shell. It is really a good tool. So this was the first time that I used Laravel shell in my like professional career. Previously, I used to write Docker on my own, but like Laravel shell is really awesome. So if you have not tried it, I would like to request you to go so. So the first thing, so there are so many things that we have in this file, but the main thing that we are interested is this one. So as you can see, we have an image from Uncanny PG Vector. So you can see there is one open source GitHub repository, so which has like 14,000 stars. So this is the mm, database that we are going to use. This is Postgres that is written. This is the like repository written on the top of the Postgres, and it has extension for the PG vector. So for the vector embeddings. So basically, you can see all of the documentations related to it over here. So we simply like pull this particular image, and we can make sure that this is up and running with the docker command, docker compose of PGSQL. So that's the very basic thing. And next thing, I have like this application. So as you can see, since we are using inertia, since you are using a Laravel inertia with React.js, so we will like look into this, how it looks into the UI. But like first, let's see. I want to show something related to the migrations. Uh, Let me just put this mic over here. Uh, so this is my migration file. So the concept for the today is that I will basically copy some contents from the Laravel itself, and to make sure that to demo this to you, that instead of looking into some existing documentation, the AI is looking into my fed data. What will I do is I'll simply replace Laravel with cool PHP. That is going to be name of my framework, and artisan with cooler. So that's the very basic thing that I will be doing today. So the first thing that you can see, the table name is Laravel docs, and we are simply so the first thing that we are doing over is creating the vector extension uh, to enable the vector extension in the Postgres. And next thing, we have this very basic table with basic thing like ID, content, and we have timestamps. And then ultimately at the end, we are adding generating the vector embedding. This is how we do it, and that's the very basic table that we have. And the next thing we that I explained previously, the part one of the overall architecture was simply uh, reading the data and generating the embedding for that and storing into the database. So I have this text that I have prepared. For example, you can see this is what I copied from the Laravel's documentation. So this was Laravel, but I simply replaced this with cool PHP. That's all. So I will ask the question to my local rack based upon cool PHP, and it will give the answer. So for the doc sheeter, we are basically like uh, getting the data, uh, reading the file, nothing more than that. And then we are generating the embedding. So you can see there is this class called Ollama service. It is some sort of a wrapper to call the uh, Ollama. And then we will be basically, this exposes an endpoint called slash embeddings. So what I can do is simply pass the text, and also I need to define an embedding model. So for this, we have chosen nomic embed text, which supports like large number of tokens, which is especially beneficial for in this kind of scenarios where we have lots and lots of data. So this allows us to store or generate the embeddings for the large text. That's the benefit, and it returns the response, JSON response. So that's all. It's very simple, that as that you can see. And then I'm simply storing it. So let's see this in action. How this works is, for example, this is my Laravel docs table. So this is the first part of the first file. So the installation part. So where I have all of the text stored in a very plain text format, and you can see this is the embedding. This is a vector data. You can see this is a complete. This is an array. So this is an vector array. That's all. So this is how we are storing the different data, and we have some sort of embeddings generated. This is the very basic table that we have. So this is the very first part of our architecture. And for the second part, so we have two things. So first one is route get slash chat, which will basically render a uh, inertia page. So for example, this is basically generating a chat slash index file, which is written in React.js. That's all. And I have also created one API endpoint for API slash chat, which will basically take the input, process it, and it will return back the streamed response. So that's all. So before moving into that part, I would like to like show one thing about the simple SSE server sent events. So a couple of weeks back, like there was one tweet from Taylor about this thing. Actually, this would have been very simple to generate the stream in Laravel, but it seemed like it was complicated, and he added a very simple documentation to it. So that's all. So let's see the demo part now. So let's move into this. So as you can see, since this is a inertia app, I have npm run dev. So let me do it once more. So npm run dev, that's all. And the next thing, I have php artisan serve running so that I can like expose my app on 8000 port, and then I think I'm all good to go. So let's move. So localhost 8000. So this is a simple chat bot that we are talking about. But before that, I want to simply move into simple SSE part. So how our application is going to work is that, so you can see we streamed, basically streamed like these 5 hellos. So over here in this endpoint, we are looping through 0 to 5, and then we are streaming one data. So this is what we will be using today. So uh, let's move on to this part. So this is a very basic React file, nothing more than that. But the real magical part is this part where we are using server sent events, and where we are like listening to this particular API/chat. And once the user submits something to this and presses the submit button, I can make sure that I can uh, read the event source. So this is what we are doing, and we are bringing like some sort of typewriter kind of effect to this. So behind the scenes, in the chat controller part, we have this controller which takes the request, and the first thing that it does, as I explained previously, it converts the query into embedding so that we can perform the similarity search. And then we have this postgres query where we are performing this similarity search based upon cosine. So you can see the documentation, we have lots and lots of options, but this is very simple thing. We are simply getting the data, and after getting the data, we will like since we have like multiple rows, it is possible that our context that we are seeking is not available in the single row, it might be in the multiple rows. We'll have to simply combine all of them, and then finally call the Ollama service to generate the stream. So for this, the generate endpoint can be used, and the prompt is very simple. Based upon the provided context or the documentation that is fed to you, please answer the questions. Keep it short, keep it simple and concise, and the question and the context has been passed. And then if this is successful, we are simply we are simply returning back the response, but in the generator format. That's all. And the controller, it will make use of Laravel's response event stream, and it will return back the data. So let's see things in action. So in this documentation part, like I have few of the questions. Let's see. Let's hope that this works and it does not break. So let me zoom this little bit. So we have used SetCN UI and everything that Laravel 12 provides us, all of the beautiful things that we have got recently. So I have, as I mentioned, I have already like shared data, already shared the data, and the core difference is that Laravel is replaced with cool PHP and Artisan is replaced with Cooler. That's all. So if I have to ask, tell me about cool PHP in 5 lines. Since this is a local one, it takes some time. So you can see it gave some answer. So this is exactly what Laravel's documentation has. If you check in the Laravel's official documentation. So as I said, cool PHP was replaced, like Laravel was replaced with cool PHP. That's all. So you can see this thing basically is looking into our data instead of like relying on the existing LLMs or some sort of data. It is completely relying on our local fed data and returning back the data. That is the core purpose of our like today's session. So let's see few of the other examples as well. So let me ask him another question to basically scaffold cool PHP on my Mac OS in very quick 4 steps. So as a Laravel developer, all of us know that we simply need either Laravel installer or maybe HUD or something like that, and do Laravel new. So this should basically replace Laravel with cool PHP and give the same answer. So let's see. Okay. So the first step is installing PHP and cool PHP installer. So this is something that Taylor introduced a couple of months back, the PHP installer, and then we install the either we can install like a Laravel installer globally that is replaced with cold PHP, and then we can start a new application doing this, and then we can also generate a migration doing this. So as I mentioned that we have replaced artisan with cooler, and then so yeah, this is basically reading from our locally fed data and returning back the data. So let's look for the final demo, like one for last prompt, and we can move ahead. So let's say, so for this demo I have not fed much data, only like basic installation part and something related to migration. So that's all. So let's say uh, there might be scenario like I'm very new to Laravel, for example, or cool PHP, and then I want to know about migration, and my basic concern is that I write some migration code, and then I want to make sure that I'm interested to know whether or not if there is a way to check the migration works perfectly without having to run it like PHP artisan migrate. Instead of doing this, is there any way to make sure that the migration runs? So that is my question, that is what I want to know. And then it will basically check to see if such thing is available. So you can see, yes, you can do that simply by using PHP cooler migrate dash dash pretend. This is Laravel's functionality. So yeah, that's all. That was the very basic thing. We saw a very simple RAG up and running that we did completely from local. So let's like conclude. So why does this matter? So we are PHP developers. We think that AI is for only for the Python devs, but that is not the thing. We saw that PHP also can do it with all of the modern tools like Ollama and all. With simple Laravel's HTTP facade, we can do all of the amazing things. So we can see Laravel basically can do it. So as a PHP developers, we can create smarter apps. So that's all. We also create, so for example, we have created one application like similar, this is on production using all of the technologies. You can check it if you want. So finally, since we are out of time, so I'd like to thank everyone, like basically my friends, mentors, and the community leaders. So like couple of months back, we met Hamasaki-san, David, and everyone, and we planned about this event, and today we are here. So thank you so much everyone for joining today's session. So you can find me on all of the social media. So I'll be sharing this link afterward. So thank you so much. So David.